Hello and welcome to this short discussion of issues relating to teacher-child interaction. I'm joined today by Professor Joe Elliot from Durham University. I'd like to ask you about two closely related aspects of skilled teacher behaviour: control over communication and the use of voice.
As I've mentioned in another interview in this series, teacher authority is a crucial component to building good relationships with children in the classroom. Sometimes teachers believe that they signal authority by projecting their voices perhaps too loud, sometimes to be barking orders, to be telling youngsters off in a very kind of cross, angry voice. But actually, the use of voice is much more subtle than that and needs to be modulated rather more carefully. The voice is an essential tool that the teacher uses in the exercise of their professional competence. But sometimes the voice can be a window to the teacher's anxieties and insecurities. And when this happens, the teacher's authority is undermined.
So what are the key features of voice that teachers should consider?
Well, the key features are essentially the volume, how loud and how soft the teacher speaks, the speed of delivery, the pitch of voice, the modulation, the fluency, and the use of silence. I'll say a little bit about each of these in turn. So volume, let's start with that one first. Sometimes teachers need to raise their voice to project it, not shout, but project their voice because they want to grab the attention of a number of youngsters in the classroom, or perhaps all of the class. But sometimes that's taken too far in one-on-one issues, where the child perhaps is not conforming or is compliant as the teacher would like. There's a temptation to yell, to shout, to try to get the youngster to conform. But actually, if the teacher in this situation wants to communicate a sense of authority, it's often much wiser to lower the voice and speak very deliberately with a strong sense of purpose. The speed is another crucial component. When one is anxious, when one is tense, unsure, what normally happens is the person begins to speak more and more quickly. The best guidance that you can give a teacher is that in situations which are challenging, the best thing to do is to try to slow down the delivery of the voice. As you slow down, that gives your communication greater authority. So one has to fight against one's own inclinations to speak faster and faster. Pitch. It's not so much an issue as how high or how low your normal voice is. The crucial thing is to ensure that the pitch does not go up in situations where the teacher may be feeling challenged. So to suddenly go up, demonstrate, "Johnny Biggs, if you do that once more, I'll come over there and deal with you severely." There's that high-pitched voice seems to, the authority of the teacher just leaks out of the teacher when they do this. It's important that the pitch stays the same as normal. In fact, it gets a little bit lower. Modulation. The skill here is to use the rhythm of voice to make the point you want. So it's, who in this class can tell me the answer to this question? So there what you've got is loud and fast, and then it slows down. The voice is being controlled by the teacher in a way that maximizes the message. To speak in a monotone voice, flat, same speed all the way through, suggests a lack of competence, a lack of expertise, and sends bad messages about the teacher's authority. Fluency, this is a tricky one. The other ones can all be brought under teacher control. Fluency is a problem because sometimes the more the teacher tries to speak without hesitation, without any kind of disfluency, with umming and ahhing, and so the more the teacher tries to do that, the worse it gets. But it is really important, as far as possible, not to allow that to happen when the situation is problematic, when there is a difficult interaction. Finally, silence. It's not really voice at all, it's really the absence of voice. Silence is a tool that many children, particularly adolescents, can sometimes use to unsettle adults. But the skilled teacher uses silence to good effect. They may ask a question, they may then scan around the room, look about, and then after a brief pause, they select someone. The skilled teacher then is in control of the volume of their voice, the speed of their voice, the pitch of their voice, the modulation, the fluency and the use of silence. The good teacher, the highly skilled teacher, recognizes that this is an important tool in their professional craft, not a window to their innermost insecurities.
Let's turn now to control over communication. What does that mean, and why is it so important?
One of the biggest mistakes that are made by novice teachers is they try too hard to be liked, too hard to make a relationship. In their attempt to build this idealized relationship, what they often do is they become overly responsive to the child. The child asks the questions, the teacher answers them. Gradually, over a period of time, the child becomes the dominant person in the interaction. What is important is that this isn't allowed to take place, because what will happen is the child will be the puppeteer pulling the strings, and the teacher will be the marionette dancing to the child's wishes. It's important to establish who is in control in these interactions. The teacher needs to make sure that they are in control of the patterns of interaction, of spoken dialogue. They may respond to the child, but they become overly responsive. Sometimes the child will cut in and try to change or divert the teacher from a topic they're talking about. It's important in these situations the teacher is sensitive to this and stops it. You may stop it just non-verbally by just putting your hand up like that to say, hold on, I'm talking about another issue. Sometimes we need to use, a child will try to divert us, and we need to refocus them upon the task at hand. Sometimes one person can ask a question and this is answered by another question. Children can do that, but also teachers may do that. Ultimately, the teacher has to be seen as the person who is in control of this. They may give the child the control over patterns of interaction for a period of time, but this is a conscious decision for educational purposes. It's not something that happens because the teacher is so eager to be liked or to be responded to or to be popular with the other children.
Thank you very much for that, Professor Elliot. If you're interested in the issues discussed here, there's further information on the Behaviour for Learning website.